Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Dagger community call. We really appreciate everyone being here and taking the time to look at these demos and engage in conversation with us. So if this is your first community call, I just want to go through a few quick logistics. We're streaming live on YouTube and Twitter. So if you have any comments, feel free to put them there. YouTube comments come directly to us, so I'll see them the quickest there. So put them there, and then I will, if you have a question for the speaker, I'll make sure that they hear it and see it while they're presenting. And any comments, we always love to pull those up and highlight them. So while you're watching today, if you want to let us know where you're watching from, it's always fun to see those comments roll in, and that way we can highlight you. We also have our Discord general channel, which if you're not already in our Discord, highly recommend joining there. You can add your comments there as well. So if you are in the Discord already, you're welcome to say hi on that, and we will be monitoring that for questions and comments too. And if you're watching this and you really want to be on the community call, please let me know. I'm on Discord. My handle is Miranda Carter, and happy to get you added to the agenda. So, and then I think I have one more slide around where we'll be at for a few events. So we have one of our Dagger commanders. He's going to be at the DevOps Porto. Oh, there we go. He's right there watching our community call too. He's going to be speaking at one of the meetups there soon. So if you're in that area, it's really awesome because we have a commander there. So I'm sure he'd be happy to help you or answer any Dagger questions that you may have. And then we also have Jeremy, Lev, and Solomon from our team at AWS reInvent. So if you're going to be there, please let us know because we'd love to meet in person, grab a coffee or a drink with you to just talk about your experience. So since we have everyone here, I'd love to kind of get started and learn about who we have on the panel today. So Miles, you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. Hey, everyone, I'm Miles, founder of Marimo, and here to demo some cool integrations that we built with Dagger.
Awesome. Nice. And Vincent?
Yeah, hello. So yeah, I have a voice issue today.
No problem.
I'm from Paris, France. I work at Ubisoft, so I'm a developer. And I'm going to talk with Thomas about how we are using Dagger at Ubisoft. So we'll talk about our experience and a lot of things. So stay tuned.
Awesome. And I was joking on LinkedIn because I know that you posted about your Dagger experience, and then I pinged you immediately, and you're like, I knew, Miranda, you were going to ping me to get on this community call. So I'm so happy that you're finally
notorious on the internet, Miranda. You're just like,
yeah.
No, it's because she was trying to get me on this call for a while. So each time it was, oh, I'm not sure we're ready. So yeah, I think at some point it was like, we're not ready, but it's okay. We'll just share where we are, and we'll see how it goes, and we can come back later maybe with something more polished.
I was gonna say, so it's Ubisoft with Dagger Part 1.
Exactly. Expect more.
yes.
Awesome. And Thomas, you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Thomas Gillis. I'm a server developer at the Halifax studio for Ubisoft, and I'll be covering mostly how we use Dagger, or how I've been experimenting with Dagger to wrap our Unity projects and our Unity build pipeline.
That's awesome. Sweet. Thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate it. And Guillaume and Jeremy, who the heck are both of you? No idea.
Well, Guillaume, you want to go first?
It's okay. I'm a software engineer at Dagger, and I'm here to present the latest release that we had a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and I lead the ecosystem team at Dagger. I'm here just for color commentary, a foil to Miranda's energy, and I'm super excited to hear and see from everybody that's on the call.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah, we always need co-hosts and perfect. Okay, so let's get started. Miles, do you want to share your screen? Or actually, let me go quickly. So we just did kind of an overview of. Let me add to stage. There we go. We just did a quick overview of that agenda with everyone, but just in case people didn't see it, we'll go first with the Ubisoft and then Miles, and then we'll end with a recap of .14. So really excited to show off some features if you haven't tried some already. So let me pull your screen up, Miles. Let me know when you add it, and I'll pull it up.
Wait, sorry, I'm going first?
Sorry. No, you're not. I'm so sorry. Vincent, you're going first.
Okay, so I'm going.
You passed the first test.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Thanks, Miles.
Okay, here we go.
Stage. There we go. And I'll make this bigger.
Can you see it?
That's great.
That looks good.
That's good. I can't see you anymore, but that's okay. So I have just a very few slides as an introduction, because most of it will be a demo and talk and things like that. So yeah, we already introduced ourselves, Vincent and Thomas. So just a bit of context to start. At Ubisoft, it's a big company. We have 19,000 employees, and we are using GitLab and Perforce. So Perforce is mostly used for everything game related, and GitLab for everything else. I wanted to check how many repositories we have in GitLab, but I didn't at the time. But lots of them. So we're using GitLab CI for the moment for all our CI for that. And we have lots of other hosted software, as many companies, Artifactory, Quay to store our container image, GitLab too for we're hosting some image repositories there too. And a few other components, security related, Vault. We are using JWT feature from GitLab to authenticate as part of the CI with different systems, such as Vault or with Artifactory, with something we call some kind of custom identity federation, which we should call our own internal token gateway. So I'll talk more about that later. But the idea of sharing the context is that we have lots of internal components and that come into play when we are doing something in our CI. And that's where it's interesting for us to build on top of Dagger to abstract these things and make it easier for people to use. So we'll see that through the demo and so on. A bit of our Dagger journey. So it started like a year and a half ago. So on a new project, we said, okay, let's start. We're starting a new project. Let's try to start differently for the CI too. So let's try to do it with Dagger. So at that time, there was no module. It was only a big monolith. So we did that. We implemented everything from scratch. And we kind of extracted an internal Go library. So we wrote everything in Go because the project was in Go. And we extracted the interesting part of the Dagger pipeline as an internal Go library that we put on our GitLab instance. So other projects could reuse it. So I think we had 3 or 4 projects with our pipeline written in Go using Dagger, using that. And a few months later, we met someone, a smart guy named Solomon something. Maybe you heard of it, of him. Yeah. He told us, "Oh, that's cool what you're doing, but can't you like promote it? Have more projects inside of Ubisoft use Dagger?" So yeah, it's difficult because we have to rewrite all the pipeline of the project. Sorry, to use Dagger, it's all or nothing. I say, yeah, I know. It's a big issue. That's why we are doing a big change and we are introducing modules. And this part is very interesting because it's going to allow us to replace only parts of the pipeline, of the existing pipeline. So that was very cool. But unfortunately, we kind of couldn't use it for a while because we wanted, our first try was to use that to interact with our own internal setup tools. And we couldn't really do that because we wanted to keep our module private, and it took a few months to get that feature into Dagger private module last month, or maybe 2 months ago. And that's when we started to have another look, closer look at module, and to see what we can do with it. And we started in a few weeks to build what we call our own internal Daggerverse, so a set of Dagger modules that we can reuse for our own specific needs. So that's when I'm going to stop sharing that and go back to that page. So on our GitLab instance, we have a Daggerverse group, and that's So I'm not sure if the name is good or not. Maybe we'll change it because it might confuse people between the upstream Daggerverse, like the open source one, and our own. But basically, it's just a group in GitLab with various projects, so it's easy for people to add new projects. And our goal here is not to build everything in-house, is to write abstraction that are specific to us, but on top of existing module. So for example, if I have a look at the Artifactory one, it's something that's specific to our own use case because we have a specific way to authenticate to Artifactory when we are in a GitLab CI context. So in fact, if I check the Dagger.json, we see that we have a dependency on the Artifactory. And the upstream, oh, nice, it's the first one. I heard that the best module are the first one. So it's this one. So we are reusing this one, and in fact, just building a layer on top of it.
Nice.
And
awesome.
what we're doing is just basically, I'm going to switch to the code, it will be easier. So it's a Go module, and we have hard-coded the host name and everything to make it easier for people to use. And when I'm going to configure, the interesting part we added is a way to retrieve the Artifactory credential from the GitLab GWT token. And to do that, we are using an internal endpoint that can convert that and do the translation. So that's where it's interesting for us because we can very easily replace something. So I have an example. That one. Like before Dagger, in the GitLab CI pipeline, people were doing that kind of things. So generating a payload as a JSON object, using curl to send it to the endpoint, using GQ to extract the API key, and then another curl request to upload the artifact and Artifactory. So it's something that is copy and pasted everywhere with different versions and things like that. And basically what we want is to translate that into a simple call to Dagger, where you can just say, okay, I want to use Artifactory module. I have a GitLab GWT coming from the environment variable, and I want to publish a file. That's the source, and that's the destination, and that's it. Nothing more. Very simple. And that's something we can do now. So previously it was very complex, but with thanks to the Dagger module and the fact that we can have our own Dagger module, which have some codes very specific to us to do the translation of the credential or things like that, we can do that.
That's so powerful, Vincent, that that one, you were able to, and thank you so much for the whole community. You upstreamed, you made public a lot of your modules for Artifactory and JFrog, CLI, GitLab, so other people can do this. But it's also really, really cool that you were able to take that upstream one and then customize it for your particular needs. It's an amazing pattern.
Yeah, it's something that could be easier, in fact. Because we can't just return. So I'm going to do a bit of code. But what I'm doing here is that I'm creating like that field, the Artifactory, is an upstream object from the other module, the open source one, and I can't just return it. Like I'm sure you are aware of that, but maybe some other people in the call are not. So when you write a Dagger module, you have a main object, and you can't return a main object from another module. So you can just say, okay, I'm going to build a wrapper that will construct the object from the other module and just return it, and the user will be able to call a function on that other module. So I need to basically to re-implement all the function. So for example, publish go library. This one is a function from the upstream. Where is my Dagger verse? Publish go library. It's a function from the upstream open source module. And if I want to expose it, I have to rewrite it and call the underlying one. So it's a bit of it's more visible here with publish file. It basically my custom module, like private module, doesn't add much. Just I have to respect I don't have, but if I want to expose the same interface, I have to re-implement the upstream one. So it's not a big deal. It's just that if the upstream, like open source module, has a lot of function, and I want to expose the same experience and function to my user with my private module, I have to re-implement all of them. So yeah. But I know that you're working on that.
Yeah, we're working on some stuff to make that easier. Very cool. And then also for folks that don't know, this was implemented in Go, but because of the way that Dagger modules work, you could import this into a module, your pipeline module written in any language. So
yeah, totally.
Again, super cool.
Excellent point. Yeah, totally. I can reuse another module written in Python and extend it in Go. Exactly. One other interesting thing I wanted to highlight is how can we keep it up to date? Because if I leave it at that, like that, I either need to use the latest version of the module. So if I ever do some breaking change, it will break everything. Or ask user to put a very specific version, but I know that they will never upgrade the version. So what we are doing is that we are providing a Docker image. If you can see at the top, that one, the Docker image that comes with Dagger and the Docker CLI and a few other things, because connecting to private repository can be tricky. So initially the private repository stuff, maybe I need to speed up a bit because otherwise other people won't have time. So I won't go into details.
We're doing good.
We're doing it perfect. So I just want to highlight that we have a custom Docker image, and within that image, I can show you. I have where is it? I'm building it with Dagger, of course, and I have a set of version for all the modules we have, and I'm exposing environment variable for them, and these are non-version that works with the current version of Dagger we have, which is the latest one. But if I want to deploy but basically it's a way for us to package a set of modules with our Docker image. So people just have to use the version that comes with the image without knowing which one it is. Just trust us. And then we have another tool at Ubisoft, which is responsible. So I'm going to find an example, which is responsible for upgrading automatically the image. Yeah, that one. So it's similar to Dependabot, for example, and it's going to detect that I have an older version and just going to patch it and to create a merge request and everything. So thanks to that existing vote, we know that the Docker image will be automatically upgraded in all the repository. And with them, we can automatically update the version of the module that people are using. So that's pretty nice.
Yeah, that's great.
I won't go much further because I want to leave space and time for the other people. Just quickly, so we have a few like utility module, like Artifactory, connect to our own like GitLab, Vault, and things like that. And we also have one, for example, to build a Go application, so higher level kind of module. Which has a lot of dependency on our own internal module, so Artifactory, on how to publish container image to our own registry, to have an easy way to write like a full pipeline in Dagger. So basically, we're trying to attack it from two different angles to provide a way for people to replace like YAML and Bash snippet in their GitLab CI with Dagger call for a specific feature, or for people just to write a full pipeline with Dagger.
Nice. Do everything. It was great.
Thanks.
And thanks for showing off that the update feature too. I know Jeremy is always thinking a lot about like how do we keep things updated, and so that tip and how you have solved that I think is really helpful to kind of see how you're doing that in the wild. So thank you.
Yeah, it's kind of a simple solution, like very basic, but like for us, it's working. It's good enough for the moment. So maybe we can improve it later, but for the moment, it's good enough.
Well, and I think even with basic solutions, sometimes, especially when you're starting to get to know Dagger, it can be hard to just kind of even think through that. So seeing how all of you did it might feel simple to you, but especially for new beginners, that it's not as simple. So thanks for sharing that.
Awesome. You're welcome.
Yeah, bravo.
Thomas, do you want to take over with the slide, or do you want me to share the slide before the?
No, I can share the slide.
Okay, so I'll let you do it. I'm going to hand the mic to Thomas.
Sounds great.
Nice part.
And one thing, there was one dot on your timeline that was missing, which was the that you guys hosted a whole entire Dagger meetup for us at KubeCon before you even got started with Dagger. So
yeah, too, we did that. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Vincent. Go for it, Thomas.
Hi, all. I'm Thomas. I'm going to show you today kind of how we've been playing with Dagger, experimenting with it to build our Unity games. We focus here in the Halifax studio mostly on mobile game development. So we use a tool called GameCI, which is a containerized version of Unity. It's open source. Feel free to check it out. But one of the reasons we use that is we use, from the mobile side, many different tools. We have GitLab, we have Jenkins, we have TeamCity, we're in Perforce, we're in Git. So using containers makes it a lot simpler for us running across multiple platforms. But we always come back to the one common issue that everyone runs into is like, I want to make a local build. Dagger handles a lot of this for us. It wraps for each platform, so we have a common code base across all of those, and then the developers are able to test locally. So I'm just going to show you some sample code here of what it looks like for a simple project. Oh, that's the wrong window. This window. Okay. So our Unity license, we have so many seats. So when we go to make a build, we got to grab our license Unity, perform our build, and then return the license to the pool. So when building on GitLab, I'm going to leverage GitLab's built-in Vault support because it's really simple. It's just a couple lines. But when I'm running locally, I don't necessarily have Vault installed on my machine. I can't trust that every dev on the project's going to have that set up right. So I'm able to, with Dagger, quite easily spin up a little Vault instance, connect remotely to our Vault address, and take our username, password, serial, and pass it into the same build function that is being used on the pipeline. So the only difference between how my local versus my remote builds are occurring is how I receive my passwords. other than that, I have the identical flow as my pipeline. You can see here, we're just leveraging the game CI bash scripts. We had to modify a couple of these to handle our particular licensing situation. But yeah, at the end, it pretty much just works. Like you can, with Go, it's super simple to pull your project version text file apart and get the version of Unity. And then with that version, you're able to grab the particular version of the editor you want. So it makes it super simple to upgrade build machines. All you need to do is commit the right version of your project, and the build machine will update automatically to use the proper version of Unity. And this is all wrapped with Dagger, so like developers locally don't need to have the right version of Unity installed. They can just run this image and it'll download for you. Yeah, that's what we've been playing with for Unity. The other element we've been using Dagger for is I'm also part of the web server team. So I develop multiple backend tools for Kubernetes, different tool and REST integrations. So we have web UIs and multiple servers. Some of these communicate with each other. Some of them need to communicate with many other systems within the network. So I'm just going to show you quickly. For example, we have one of our services is built with Node, and I think it's some React library. I don't remember which particular React library we're using, but the backend's in Java. And we wanted a way for the developers to be able to test the different platforms and not wait for like a pipeline to finish building an image or having them create images locally. So what this does is we just grab the source, we build it inside of the images, and we return it as a service and bind it right there. And then the command is we just run up, and we can hit local on the host, and everything works as we would hope. It's pretty slick, and I'm hoping to expand it more to include some more of our services. So like we have multiple databases I'd like to try to mock locally and things of the sort. So I'm finding this incredibly helpful for testing some of our internal services and not waiting for different AWS instances to spin up or creating multiple runners in cloud platforms for this to work.
Very cool. That looks great.
I'm excited thanks for sharing these examples, because next for KubeCon EU, I could just pull up this record and be like, these are some ways to do this. So
yeah, and I totally had like the minute Thomas said Unity builds and this and that, and I was just like, well, I'm going to ask about Game CI, and then I'm in the Discord, the Game CI Discord too, and so I was like, oh, so I actually just posted in there. I was like, oh my God, Vincent and Thomas are talking about, builds with Dagger and Game CI, and anyway, it's so exciting. It's my dream come true.
One of the things, when you were going through that timeline, Vincent, like you can see kind of a gap in the dates. And Thomas, I know you've been working with Dagger for a while as well, but what advice would either of you give organizations that are getting started with Dagger? Because that was a long journey for all of you, and you keep going. And I think you've highlighted it. Like once you start Daggerizing, you see all these other things you can Daggerize. So I'd love to kind of get both of your advice on teams who are in the same space as you, but basically you're back when you were just getting started.
Yes. What can I say? And another interesting topic maybe is the fact that Thomas and I started using Dagger, but totally differently. Like we didn't knew each other, but we just kind of discovered that we are both using Dagger through an internal Teams channel. Like Thomas was asking a question on Dagger. I was like, yeah, totally like that. Oh, you're using Dagger? And there is another team, but they are not here today, starting to look at Dagger too. So yeah, just a moment of when you have a company, big enough, you have enough people starting to hear about it and to look at it. So yeah, for the moment, it's like at Ubisoft, we have different people starting to explore and local initiative. And that's also why we want to bootstrap that ecosystem of internal module so that it's easy for people to use and publish new module internal without fearing of, oh, I need to publish it on open source, it's going to be complex. And because I want to use like internal tools, I have some code that I can't commit, so I want to keep it secret. Well, internal.
Yeah.
And so it's easier. But I think we are not far from. We haven't really communicated on that internally at Ubisoft, but we will start pushing more and more now that we are like more ready for it. So yeah, I think it will. We'll see even more usage of Dagger soon. And yeah, as Thomas said, you kind of start using it to build container, build binaries, and then there are a lot of other features in Dagger, such as the service that you can start, and you can use it for your test, integration test, and things like that. Our initial project that use it for end-to-end testing of a Kubernetes operator, spinning up a Kubernetes cluster and lots of components. And the reason we went with Dagger is because we had a previous experience building and testing that kind of component with just GitLab CI. It was long, like running the full end-to-end test with building the cluster and installing all the component. It took like 10 or 12 minutes. So it's not that long, but it felt long.
Yeah.
And with Dagger, we are able to take that down to 2 minutes. So that's pretty nice. So yeah, that's one example where optimization, cache, and the fact that if you build everything with a nice DAG where things can be executed in parallel, mainly deploying component on a Kubernetes cluster, you can really speed up things. So that's pretty nice.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Thomas,
You're
Thomas, any other last words from you too about advice to people getting started?
Yeah. For me, the best thing is that I can do things piecemeal. It's like I can just drop a single part into my existing pipelines. I don't need to rewrite or lock myself into any particular platform. It lets me slowly migrate, which is a big deal. I can't just all of a sudden change the pipeline from underneath all of the devs.
Right.
But I can optimize this one particular module and make it use Dagger, and no one will, that's not going to break the rest of the pipe. So,
right.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing for me is being able to just slowly migrate my pipelines over.
Yeah, that's great advice. Yeah, I think that's something I found myself reminding a lot of people at KubeCon as well, because they would kind of come by our booth and then talk about that, and then kind of you think about rip and replace, especially a team that's your size. Like you mentioned, you didn't even know each other was using Dagger, and it's kind of, you're just like, I don't even have time to talk politics around a new tool, but like to your point, just getting started with really small things, and then you slowly see that, and then you can kind of bring it up even to either different leadership teams and stuff, and say, hey, I've done this as a small example and look all these changes. So yeah, great advice. Awesome. Well, thank you again, both of you, for showing this. It's great to see these examples, and hopefully people on the call, you're looking at this and getting examples for your team too. And then this is just a reminder to everyone, including the Ubisoft team, there are a lot of users who come to us to ask for support, internally and talk about pitching Dagger. So if you need that, like Jeremy, me, Lev from our team, our whole team, it's another reason to join Discord, of just let us know in the general channel. We're always happy to help either give you material or help you with your internal demos. We've done that for a few people too. So
yeah. And it's another reason that if you're holding out on us with all kinds of amazing information and demos, like Vincent was for so long, you need to come to us and share. That was amazing. I was like,
that's great.
yeah, you were holding out on us. That's pretty cool. We've been working.
Well, he had to meet Thomas to see all these amazing things that were
Yeah, and
happening.
then Thomas comes out of left field with all the game CI, Unity, and servers. I'm like, okay, you guys, thank you.
Hopefully, we're giving Miles a bunch of ideas for his team. Awesome, thank you again. Miles, did you want to share your screen and we can kind of see what Marimo's up to? Perfect. Let me add that to stage. There we go. Oh wait, I think you're on mute. I can't hear you.
Sorry, unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yep.
you're all good.
Okay. Hi everyone, I'm Miles. I'm going to talk about Marimo. First, I'm going to give a background on Marimo, and then I'll talk about how we're using Dagger in it.
Awesome.
For one of our demos. Cool. So Marimo is an open source notebook for Python and SQL. If you're familiar with Jupyter Notebooks, we are building an alternative to Jupyter Notebooks. It's not built on top, it is built from the ground up. Cool. Quick background, I'm one of the co-maintainers of Marimo, a lowercase m, that is the library, which I'm going to demo today. We're also a company, the capital M, Marimo. I'm also a co-founder there. Previously, I was at Palantir and Cloud Kitchens, and I'm on Twitter.
Go Bears.
Go Bears. Cool. So notebooks are awesome. We love notebooks. We're building a new one. The proof is in the pudding. There's 10 million Jupyter notebooks on GitHub and has just been rising. They're a great way to interact and learn how to code. If you're a new user or expert, you can mix code, markdown, visuals. They're awesome. But people have gripes with Jupyter. It's a love-hate relationship. I think people do like Jupyter, but there are some foot guns that people hit. So a lot of stuff on Twitter. You can look it up. You can kind of Google why Jupyter notebooks are not great. For example, out of order execution, you can execute one cell and then re-execute another cell, and somehow you get this state, which is obviously not true, but our notebook tells us that. You could also delete variables and somehow they're still in your state. And so x is 3, which is there's no x. Cool. So when we were trying to build a new notebook, we had 3 goals. We wanted it to be reproducible, maintainable, and productionizable. I can share this slide deck later. I'll probably speed run through it just so I can get to the Dagger parts. How is Marimo different? It's more like a spreadsheet, like Excel. So when you update one cell, everything updates that depends on it, how like a spreadsheet does. When you delete a variable, it gets deleted as well, like a spreadsheet does. And if we have interactivity and we have widgets, and as you move a slider, anything that depends on that slider or the slider's value, in this case, will also update.
Right.
Also, again, if you're familiar with Jupyter Notebooks, you know they're stored as JSON, which are hard to put in Git. It's not Git friendly. You can't syntax highlight. It's not code reviewable, etc. Our file format is pure Python, which makes it really nice to deal with or to integrate with all your tools that you have that already exist and work with Python. And lastly, it's productionizable. So because it is a script, you can execute it as a script. You can just run Python mynotebook.py. You could run it as an application. You can actually hide, because it's an interactive reactive library, you can actually hide all the code, and then you just have a visual, which I'll show in the demo. And you can string these together as scripts if you wanted to, and add command line arguments to each one. Cool. Awesome. That was a speed run of Marimo. Now I'll run through a demo. Marimo is pip installable, so like UV pip install Marimo. You'll have it on your computer. It's open source, free on GitHub. So I'm going to demo a Dagger code interpreter. One of the features we offer is, again, if you're in the Python community, you know the notebook, or sorry, the package management, virtual environment stuff can be a mess. When you run Marimo notebooks, because of UV, it's so fast to install. We just install everything in a virtual environment right away. So all your dependencies are in this virtual environment, and you don't get pollution, and it's great. Cool. So this is a Marimo notebook. I have some code here, imports. I've written some markdown here. Everything is reactive. So as I change some values, everything that code that depends on it gets updated. I'll zoom in a bit. So I do have some boilerplate here. Here I have like a drop down to pick a different backend of. So I'm building a chatbot. This is an LLM thing, so I can choose Ollama or OpenAI. In this case, I'm just going to use OpenAI. It wants my key because of it. Let me just paste this key in. Everyone close your eyes. Just kidding. Cool. So now that I added that, some code actually ran below because this has been added. So there's some switch that I have that like once this key is given, rerun this below. Cool. So I have some code here. I'll come back to this. Let me hide this for now. Cool. So what I have, and I'm actually just toggle to app view, hide all the code. I have this little chat widget, which I'm generating with a Marimo UI element Mo UI chat, which the obligatory every framework, UI framework at least now, has to have a chat widget. So we have one. You can do a lot of cool things with it. I'm using, so you can pass your own model. This model just basically calls into a system or into a tool called L, which is, if you're using any of these frameworks, there's like LangChain, L. There's a bunch to help you call OpenAI or any LLM. I use L because the API is really concise and it's less distracting to the part of the demo. But it is just some way to orchestrate a bunch of messages to then call either tools or an LLM, etc. So I have this chatbot that is given a set of messages, and I return the messages. It says I'm a data scientist with access to writing Python code. I have some user content that's passed and the assistant content. So it has a history of these messages as I chat with it, and it has access to tools. So one tool I have is execute code unsafe. The reason I have execute code unsafe is going back up to here. So here's a tool that I have, and hopefully people can see this. This is an L tool. So just doing all the schema driven, like it's writing the schema for this tool. And here's the description of the tool, which just executes this code. And this is something I took from Stack Overflow, which runs Python code using eval, which can be very unsafe because it's running it on your computer. And this is not me generating code, but this is an LLM that's generating code. So I don't know if I should trust it. But anyways, I'm going to trust it right now. Execute code unsafe. I'm going to hide this, add a question. And so this says, so I can just type in my question here. I just had a predefined prompt, so I can make this a little bit easier. What is the square root of a number? I'm just going to put a random number in, submit, run. Hopefully this works. Cool.
Nice.
This just ran. It grabbed code from an LLM, ran it in my tool using the exec or eval function, and then return that. But I would not put this in production because I do not want to run code that an LLM generated from code that I probably do not trust. So I'll comment this out. I have a new function, new tool, execute code, and this is using Dagger. The reason I chose Dagger is because I can use the library and do things at runtime and kind of like logically add things to my container as I build it. And so I start with Python. So this Dagger container is going to execute code, and I added a few more features on it, and I'm sure I can add even more features. I just am scratching the surface of what I can build here. And so this execute code starts with Python because I'm executing Python code. It creates a script.py. I've actually added some requirements, which comes from packages.value. So let me uncomment all this stuff. So I have two more widgets, Marimo widgets, which one takes some files. I can drop some files in, one takes some packages. And these just end up rerunning this cell, which recreates this tool, which is not actually recreating the Dagger container yet, just creating the tool, which is some logic to create the Dagger container. So I have some requirements, so I can add pandas, NumPy, etc. And this is now there's NumPy in there. Not until I actually run this tool. It installs it. And then if I have files, I just add the files in there. and then I move into this app directory that I created, and then I run it with Python. Cool. And I've added 2 more instructions here. So rather than originally I had this as you are a data scientist writing Python code, which wasn't super interesting because it can't do much. But now it has access to files. So given these files that I upload, and this is coming from that widget, I have this function describe file, which basically just tells me what kind of file it is. If it's a CSV, it will just give me the headers of it. We can make this describe a little bit smarter. And then here are some Python packages, so we'll know I can use these packages. Cool. So I have this new execute code, which happens in a Dagger function, which can take files, can take Python, can install Python packages, etc. Let me now hide this all, and I really hope this works. Have a folder somewhere. Cool. So I'm gonna pass in this. Everyone saw that it's a airports.csv. It's just a list of a bunch of airports. Cool. And I have pandas. So let me ask, what is the top most airport, or like northern most airport by latitude, given the files? I don't want it to actually just end up searching whatever its corpus, whatever it's trained on.
Nice.
Cool. We'll see if this works. Take some time.
Sweet.
I could have run this not in this app mode, because you can actually see some of the output that the Docker is, the container is being built. Cool. So this is what I wrote. So it imported pandas. It read this airport CSV. It knew it was latitude. Before I was not giving the file header, so I was just kind of guessing what latitude was, but it knew that this is actually a header. It found its max and printed it out. Cool.
Awesome.
Wow.
So
Nice.
that was kind of the basics of it. I can run this again so you can see it, try to connect to Docker. So like, let me just do a simple thing. You can see it's actually building this, clearing the outputs. Cool. So this is all running in Dagger safely. I'm not worried about it messing up my own computer, RFing me. So yeah, very different use case than probably most use cases for Dagger at the moment, but it was really nice just to be able to like for loop over adding new files, and like I can conditionally add different requirements.
Yeah.
I hear the sandboxing is really a great feature, given what you're trying to do, like, you know, run untrusted code, and very cool.
Yep. Cool. I got a couple more slides. I guess the kind of like what's next, like what you can do with this. I really want to build something where, so it's very big, and I'm not creating a lot of chatbots, but because we're building Marimo, people want to create chatbots in this. So I've been creating some. A big thing is to give the chatbot a bunch of tools, like check the weather, or I don't know, check stocks or something. But I think with Dagger, there's an opportunity to actually just have Dagger itself make its own tools. And so if you feed it to stocks, and like maybe you can use Dagger or just have it build a Docker file or something, but like you feed it stocks and be like, I want to remove the background of this image. It's like, oh, I don't know how to do that. Maybe one of the new functions is created tool, which would, like, it's kind of this toolception, which then can use fmpeg to create then a tool to remove a background image, and then it can actually do it again. And so you can kind of start to create this corpus of Dagger tools, which would be really cool. Also, you can, I haven't played around with this yet, but either mounting local files, maybe a Git repository, and then making some edits, pulling back some diffs, and then putting up a code review would be pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And then, I was looking at Daggerverse after the prior presenter mentioned it, and just to seeing actually what modules there would be actually interesting. But you could essentially scrape the whole registry, pull it back, and create a tool for each one, getting its schema, knowing its input. And you can kind of then now have access to all these tools that are just built by Dagger, Dagger modules. So I looked at a few up there. There was a get stocks one that would return stocks. You can pull information from LinkedIn or post to Blue Sky. So you can kind of have your agent do this in a sandbox, and you don't have to give it requirements or have it run something unsafe. So
yeah, this is really, really cool. Shout out to Lev's Gerhardt's notify module, I think. The ones that posted all the different things. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's like really cool to see in all these demos, so far, just how things that we used to have to get a physical machine for in the past, or more recently we all would get like a VM for, or just to kind of create some sandboxing to create this virtual environment and not have to go out to the cloud, or not have to kind of bother anybody else, just to do our own testing or for isolation. And now it's just like, obviously we've had containers for a minute, but being able to really orchestrate them as code like this, it's amazing. And then throwing it into having some AI then write some code. I mean, it's I'm super excited to see where this goes.
Yeah, and it's great to run it locally, and then as soon as you need more power or more agents themselves, you can just batch them off into Dagger Cloud. So cool. And just wanted to say that reflection of the other tweets, it sounds like we're on the right track. People do love Marimo.
Nice.
These are not built with Dagger, but they are built with Marimo. There are other cool things that people can do. Actually, this one is built with Dagger. So here's a code interpreter. There's a recipe bot, but there's a lot of other interactive things that you can build just from a notebook.
Nice. And perfect. I was just going to ask about what's the best way, where should they go if they want to try it?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of links in here. I can link to, if you go to the GitHub and then go to examples and AI chat, the Dagger one is in here.
Nice.
I'm going to update it because I actually made some changes. And we have docs. We actually have, so what I showed was running on my computer locally, but this also runs in WebAssembly. So I don't know if Dagger runs in WebAssembly, but it would be interesting, not Dagger itself, but using maybe Dagger Cloud. So you could actually just use the Python library would run in WebAssembly, but maybe it would be built somewhere else. It would be kind of cool. I don't know. I haven't tried it, but I could. Yeah, and then our gallery if you want to see other examples that people have built.
Sweet. Awesome. I think Kyle from our team and you're also using, I think, Dagger a little bit for Marimo's pipelines themselves, right?
Yep. Yeah. So we have Dagger. Kyle did set us up. We have Dagger internally that just runs. We can run commands for local development and then also CI. Sweet.
Nice.
Amazing.
Alex from our team was saying, did someone say WebAssembly? It's like the hot tool right now.
It is, yeah. So we can run. I'll start with a new notebook. So this is all running in WebAssembly on marimo.app, which is just our playground, and it's surprisingly very fast. And it downloads Python, which is
sweet. Nice.
Yeah, it's a whole version of Python running on your browser. It's zero latency because it's all running locally, so you don't have to reach to any server or anything. But it's nice.
Sweet. Yeah. Thanks for showing that. Perfect. Well, I'll put the links in our Discord and I'll put it in the chat too of that example that you just showed, and then also for those of you, especially if you have an open source project too that you kind of want to follow how they've integrated that, I'll put the link on where they're using Dagger so you can get some examples. But thanks, Miles, for showing us that.
Yeah, thank you.
Guillaume, do you want to show off some of the stuff we've been working on for Dagger?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
And then we'll see how many of them Vincent, Miles, and Thomas have. We'll quiz them at the end.
Yeah, so I just want to talk about the 014, which I self-proclaimed the one with gold inside.
Is it because you built one of the features, or
exactly? A lot of humility. Yeah, so basically there was a blog post release. I don't know if people on the community watched it or not. If you don't, basically you're in luck. I'm gonna explain it. The first feature is the Git credential helpers. So Vincent and Thomas have been unlocked on their corporate use case a few months ago because we released the private support via SSH refs, but a lot of corporate environments actually don't allow that. So I think it was one of the most awaited feature. We received a lot of love from the community saying, hey, I've been hacking on Dagger on my spare time. Now I can sneak hitting at work. I can basically, I don't have any blockers. So yeah, if you have some time, I can show you a demo for people, but basically quite easy. Okay, let's go. I'll go fast.
Yeah,
So
go.
here, so how does it work? Basically here I have my own private Daggerverse, as you can see, with a zip function. And so I'm now capable of using the HTTP ref and basically query the function. So basically I have access to that. How does it work under the hood? Basically, prior the demo, I used the GH CLI, and the GH has a credential helper. So I just basically did this. What does it do under the hood? Inside my git config, it adds the credentials. So here, for example, for any ref that contains github.com, it's going to request the GH CLI for the auth. And it's that basically most developers have already set up their local Git to authenticate against their corporate repos. So that's the main way. So that's how we seamlessly integrate with your Git CLI. So whenever the engine knows that it's a private repo and it needs to, I need to have access for the credentials, it's going to request your local Git CLI for basically the informations. So that's basically basically it just works. Nice DX. That was our main concern.
Nice.
The second nice thing we shipped is the exit code API. The title I made is basically sometimes tests are expected to fail. So as a joke here, as you can see, an engineer always finds a way. Sometimes in your test suite, you expect to have an exit code other than 0. I'm pretty sure like 95% of the people that would have had this use case would have done something like this. As part of Dagger, we always like to expose nice APIs to have a nice developer experience. So now, basically, you're in control of what an expected failure is. And the way we do that is here. If you see, do you see my cursor? Yeah, you see it, perfect. We added an expect option to say, hey, okay, for this given test, I expect 0, 1, or 2 to be considered a success. And we added another syntactic API, which is the exit code. So here you can run, it's not going to fail. And if the exit code is part of the 0, 1, or 2, I can actually retrieve it and have another logic saying, hey, if my exit code is 1, I can do that. If it's 2, I can do that. But if it's different than those, then the exit code API is going to return an error, and you're going to be able to handle that too. So anyway, all the time, having a nice API to interact with how you want to code your pipeline. You're in control. Okay, OCI annotations. So the title I made for this one is basically your container needs metadata too. Okay, one sec. So finally, you can document who to blame when things break. So I'm not going to explain what to do, but basically we add the annotation to the container. It enhances the traceability, the organizations of images for your infra team, and basically manage metadata across environments. We made sure that basically once you annotate on the export or as an export as a tarball, we preserve them. Yeah, I think always developer experience in mind. The also very nice stuff. So global service host names. So some users had a very, very edge case basically, and the API was not good. I'm going to the. It's easier to show it on an editor. So here now I have two services: service A, service B. Service A, as you can see, basically is being used inside service B, and service B that is declared basically is being used inside service A, and they also listen on the same port. So before it wasn't like isolated with the host name. We now have added this with host name that enables you to scope it to a host name and be able to query them between each other. So that's a use case that's basically been unlocked. recently as part of this release.
Oh, very cool. Because yeah, you used to have to be artificial about the port numbers or things like that
Yeah.
to work around. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. Okay. Now it's the also very nice stuff. Basically, performance improvements. Module init is faster on 3 points. So when basically your modules is fully cached, we are even faster than before. So caching is even faster. When the engine starts with an empty cache, and it has to recompute everything, we also made it faster. And as part of that, basically, there's no more registry lookups. Basically, for locally cached images that are pins with a digest. Basically, like that's technical detail. What's most important is, the performance when using Dagger from scratch or when reusing in my module as a dev loop, because I already have it in the cache, is faster. And we keep iterating. We keep iterating on that. But basically, that's one of the first strong setting stone on that. Better disk usage. This one is a big one, I think, too. We always used to take 75% of the total disk size. And now, basically, we changed the policy. We had a lot of complaints around that. So basically, now we use 10%, or we have a minimum of 10% of 10 gigabytes being used for the volumes. So that's basically the same as a Docker desktop. We will never go above 75% of disk usage. And when we hit that threshold, we basically garbage collect everything. And we try to keep 20% of the disk usage free at all times. But we will never go below the reserve storage of 10%. So, for example, one of the use cases I had when developing Dagger in my VM is at some point I dev, and boom, at some point it would crash. Now it doesn't happen anymore. So I'm actually very happy, because as a Dagger engineer, when we take all the space in your disk space, that was a bit painful. Corporate users were complaining, and now we've basically solved it. So I'm quite happy about that one. Metrics in the CLI. So inside the TUI, we add some stats. Actually, I realized that the stats that I'm showing here, the incompress and the size, are actually not the things that I wanted to show you, but it's okay. The idea is basically on a given span, we will show you some more information to help like the developer or the infra team to basically have information on the given step and like, maybe it was slow on this step, why? So basically CPU stats, pressure metrics, they are being shown either in the TUI or in your Dagger Cloud trace. Module spin, here I have an example. Here, it's basically someone that installed this Daggerverse module, the GH module from Daggerverse. And when he installed it, he used the main ref. And so basically, when you see the source, it's easy to understand, basically, I installed it with the main ref, the main version, but we also pin the commits. So for example, if I reinstall it in the future, but the commit state of the last for this given ref is changed, the pin is going to change. So here I can update my install. I'll see that the commit changed, but still the ref is easy to understand.
Nice. You can track a branch or things like that. Very cool.
Yeah, that's it. I think I'm on time. I went overboard. Sorry.
No, you didn't. This is great. You might have signed yourself up for just doing every release summary from now on.
Yeah.
And now comes the quiz for Vincent and Miles and Thomas, and seeing what they've used already. No, just kidding. I won't put you on the spot. But no, this is awesome. Thank you, Guillaume, for that summary. People who have not already tried out .14, if you're seeing this and it's useful to you, give us feedback and let us know what we can have for .15. So, and if you're running into any issues with the latest version too, just another reason to be in Discord. That's kind of the quickest way to get our attention. Or if you're not in Discord or can't for whatever reason, just make a GitHub issue. We look at all of them. There's a lot, but I promise we look at every single issue. So just throw it in there and we will respond. So Thank you again so much, Miles, Vincent, and Thomas, for joining us today as our guests, and Jeremy and Guillaume for co-hosting. We really appreciate all of your time. Thank you to the listeners who are here as well. We will chop up these demos and add them to YouTube as well. So if you want to just show a specific one to your teammates, or you're wanting to check a specific one, subscribe to our YouTube because you'll get those alerts when the snippets get added as well. So thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. See ya.
Thank you. Bye.